Dear friends, today we've got a market review. So, it just happened that I recommended silver in the Telegram channel. And now I'm going to break it down for you too and explain the logic behind it. Look closely. If you scroll a bit to the left on the chart, you'll see this level has shown up multiple times. That kind of confirmation tells you the level was marked correctly. I marked this level right along the channel border. The asset shows great accumulation here. Again, if you go left, you'll notice there was a first stop, then a second stop. And when the asset opens and closes both above and below the level, that's a sign of accumulation. Also, there was a limit order sitting there, which confirms the level was marked correctly. Next, following a sharp, strong increase, the asset started accumulating inside the channel. That's usually a sign that is preparing for more growth. The level was marked down to a penny, exact number 10.335, and above this level, we're looking at a solid long signal. If you're in the PRO channel, drop a plus symbol in the chat. The last 2 weeks on Forex have been loaded with signals. We've even had some 100% accuracy days. Signals hit perfectly. Euro, there was very solid growth here. I had a signal on the euro earlier. Now, today's signal didn't work out, but a few days ago, I recommended a signal over here at 1.09, and the asset worked beautifully. It was a strong movement on Forex. Right now, yeah, the asset is still in the long zone. Take a closer look. You can even adjust the level slightly, and this level is marked along the paranormal bar. It looks very clean. If we end up entering the short zone here, then we might be able to drag the euro down with us. For now, though, everything still looks pretty good. These types of pullbacks are completely normal, especially after strong, sharp moves like this. The picture looks very good for GBP. Let's move the level over. Here's the new level. It's a very good one. You can see it, a really good level. This area is the long zone, and down here is the short zone. If the asset drops below 1.3210, that would be a good short entry. But for now, like I said, since the asset is still in the long zone, you've got to be cautious when shorting, because there are some strong support levels in play. In this case, that's exactly what we've got, a solid support level. You can tell these moves were clearly triggered by the movement in the dollar index. Now, personally, I don't usually watch the dollar index. I focus on cross pairs, on currency pairs directly, so the dollar index doesn't really interest me. But if you take a look at AUD, for example, you'll see most of them are showing a similar picture. We'll get to AUD in just a minute. Gold, looking good. You can see there was a reversal in gold. Same setup. I'll show you now. There's a very strong zone here. If gold reaches this area, a small short-term trend could start to form. But this is all completely normal. Gold had a huge rally recently. Just to give you the picture, in only 10 days, gold moved from 3,000 to 3,500, even pushing toward 5,000. That's around 17%. That's a big move. Gold doesn't usually move like that, so it's totally expected to see this kind of pullback. It's a normal correction, absolutely nothing out of the ordinary. All right, let's move on. What's next? This is oil. Nothing is happening with oil yet. No signal here. Oil is just sitting still. You can see it. Nothing is going on at the moment. Oil is very sensitive to what's happening in the Middle East. When talks with Iran started, oil spiked pretty hard. Lately, oil's been making some big moves, 15 to 20% in just a few days. Sometimes that kind of volatility works in your favor. It can actually be a good thing. Okay, moving right along. A very strong zone here, low at 54.89, 54.81, 54.89. This is a really strong long zone. We had a ton of short trades build up in this area. Volatility was massive. So when price comes back into this zone, we could easily see a strong upward move on the S&P 500. I'd keep a very close eye on this zone. And look, I know you all read the news, but remember something important. The market reacts based on how speculators interpret the news, not just what the news says. So however speculators digest that info, that's how the market will move. Now, if you look closely, this area right here was also a very strong short zone. Volatility was off the charts. And again, once we enter this zone, what do we have there? 54.89. You can move it using the paranormal bar. Let's go ahead and mark it based on the paranormal bar. The high is 54.81. This is a great entry into the long zone, especially since we had a false breakout relative to that bar. After that, you can definitely start watching the S&P 500 for a possible reversal. Now, of course, real stability is still far off. Trump is slowly adjusting to the whole tariff situation. By the way, Now, even Vietnam has started talking, and people expected Vietnam would just follow China. But you've got to realize 90% of the Chinese are in Vietnam. So when countries like Vietnam, despite being under major pressure from China, start negotiating, that's a signal that a lot of other countries will probably follow. Now, obviously, China won't be the first to fold. It's a massive country and the third largest economy in the world. Sure, they're still about $10 trillion behind the US, maybe more. I saw the news yesterday. China's GDP has now been slashed down to 4 to 4.5%. Just so you understand, China used to post 6.5 to 7% growth. So this kind of drop is huge for them. I think once China starts facing these disastrous numbers, yeah, it's a big deal. Growth is super important for a country like that. They've got tons of factories and outlets cranking out stuff for the whole world. Even South Korean brands manufacture a ton of their parts in China. So for China, this slowdown could hit. You see, AUD has entered the long zone and it's looking pretty good. Here's a new level forming on AUD, but we haven't been able to break it out just yet. And actually, if you take a closer look, the chart looks surprisingly similar to silver. Just keep that in mind. It's a pretty close match visually. Funny enough, considering Australia is more known for gold than silver, next up is the Canadian dollar. Nothing going on here yet. All right, let's move on. Same thing here. There is emptiness. Look, your main issue right now is that you're trying to trade assets that are stuck in a really tight range. If you zoom in, you'll see the asset is just sitting there, not doing much, and you're trying to force trades in these kinds of setups. There's just nothing here at the moment. The Japanese yen jumped a bit. Let's take a look. Yeah, that was a pretty strong move, almost 150 pips. Not bad at all. Let's check it out more closely. These kinds of reversals are tough to catch. They come in really sharp and fast. All right, let's see what else we've got here. This is the only asset that actually made it into the long zone against JPY, moving right along. Let's check out NZD. Pretty similar setup to AUD. Also quiet for now.